So CBA talks are continuing today, and we have got resident insider Annie Costable, who has been talking a little bit about this here. So you can see right now Annie talking about it. And it says here, meetings will continue between WNBA and WNBPA. This communicator reports yesterday /this AM. And it reiterated to me just now by multiple sources. Yesterday, both sides are bargaining for 12 hours. No deal reached yet. Yeah. That is to be expected. Like, I don't understand why people are there expecting any different. I don't understand why people are expecting a situation where there wouldn't be more debates today. The only way is like, look, I have very much, from what we had heard and stuff that we had seen, I was of the opinion, okay, the WNBPA are trying to stall to force a strike. That does not appear to be the case. That does not appear to be the case. So, in that regard, I'll put my hand up. Like, Tommy me cart. Like, I'm wrong. By the looks of things, I am wrong. That being said, it is still an interesting thing, again, that these conversations are happening. And somebody said, I can't remember who it was, one of the journalists said, and they were like, it's game 7. And it is, they're like, oh, it's a 7-game series. And people were like, oh, what game are they on right now if it's a 7-game series? Lovely, my internet went down. But it was referred to as a 7-game series. And people were talking about that as a negative. And I'm like, no, that's basically just saying we're here for the long run. And it's going to be a lot of back and forths. What's going to happen is that there's going to be a lot of back and forths. People are going to go back to the players. And then they're going to have their own meetings themselves, see what we can do, what we can't. And then they're going to negotiate again. Then they're going to meet with themselves again, negotiate again. Like, that is what it is. These are where the negotiations are. At the end of the day, the fact that they're still talking, they're going to talk today, and they're basically locking themselves in a room day on day on day, means that we're probably going to see some form of conclusion. By the end of this, we will see a conclusion, and they should be done long by now. At this stage, it doesn't really matter. Someone says it feels like both sides are motivated to get a deal done. Absolutely. Urgency. That is what is needed. Urgency is what has been needed. Urgency. That is what the players have needed from the start. It is about urgency, because at the end of the day, the players that are going to be worse, the people that are going to be worst off are the players if there's no season. Like, I don't think people understand that. Is like, the players have less leverage because they've got more to lose. Like, it is as simple as that. The players have got less leverage because they have more to lose. I'm not saying that the players have no leverage. I'm saying that the side that has more to lose has less leverage, which is the players. I'm going to be real here. It is the players. And like you got even Stephen A. Smith came out today. Stephen A. Smith came out today and was like, on First Take, and just goes, don't F this up. Basically, he came out and said, don't F this up. If there's a strike or a lockout, everything you've been building is for nothing, which is the truth. I hate the way that is seen as some sort of anti-player thing. No. Like, we can be completely honest. Is that this is it. This is it. Everything they're building for is for nothing if they don't play. And we can argue whose fault it is they don't play. At the end of the day, if there's no playing, it doesn't really matter. The outcome, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. It doesn't matter if it's the player's fault. It doesn't matter if it's the owner's fault. It doesn't matter if it's Kathy's fault. It doesn't matter if it's Adam Silver's fault. It doesn't matter if it's the Caitlin Clark fans' fault, like one quote-unquote ESPN, so a freelancer who once worked for ESPN, who constantly said he was ESPN, claimed. Whether it's Caitlin Clark's fans' fault, whether they want to blame the CC fans, it doesn't even matter. None of this matters at this stage. Like, not one bit of this matters of whose fault it is. Because if there's no season, we're not talking about whose fault it is. We're just not talking about women's basketball anymore outside of college. It is what it is. Like, there is going to be that core women's basketball fans who are going to support their school. And that's all. That's all it's going to be. It's not going to be anything more. The WNBA or unrivaled, whatever equivalent, Like, let's be real. There was a very specific group of players that people stayed to watch. A very specific group of players. And it was that, for lack of a better word, the young and turn class. And then there were players on the periphery of that. But let's be very real. It was Caitlin Clark and, to a lesser extent, Angel Reese and Paige Bueckers, who were the social media phenoms. People wanted to watch Caitlin Clark play basketball. And there's been no social media phenom like Paige Bueckers or Angel Reese that live up to it. Yes, Hayley Cavender. Yes, Hayley Van Lith. These players were good players and obviously had the big social media followings. Not good enough. Not good enough. But yeah, look, at the end of the day now, it's now a situation where there needs to be more meetings. There needs to be more of everything. Like, there has to be, there just has to be more. There just has to be more. And it's one of these things now where I don't even know. I don't know what exactly is going to be done. I don't know exactly how they're going to come to a conclusion. But, like, there has to be a conclusion, one way or another. So, if there has to be a conclusion one way or another. So, and a full conclusion, as in what the future of the league, whether there's going to be a league or not, that needs to be sorted out quickly for these players, because they need to know whether or not they're going to be able to buy their $1 million house and put on a down payment on their $1 million house. They need to know whether or not, for these young players, they should be looking at playing overseas. They should be spending some of their NIL money on getting themselves ready for pro basketball, or whether they should be creating their new LinkedIn, where they should be updating their LinkedIn profile. Whether basketball is going to be their job, or basketball is a footnote in their life of a 9-to-5. It is a very, very, very weird scenario all around. And the more meetings we have and the more they're talking, at least it means they're looking like they're going to come to a conclusion soon. And I don't know. I really don't know if if the conclusion is going to be what we want. Because at the end of the day, anyone whose conclusion is anything other than playing basketball is not a fan. They're not a fan. The conclusion is that everyone wants is to play basketball. Ideally, the players make as much money as humanly possible. As much money as they can. An ideal situation is they're not going to get exactly what they want, even though that would be ideal if they could. But like, the league are never going to give them that. It's not like a personal statement that they don't deserve this amount of money. It's saying the league won't give them that. Like, we know the league won't give them that. So we have to talk about that like it is we have to talk about that in a factual way. The league aren't going to give them what they want. That being said, we're now in a situation where the players have to just do everything they can to bargain for what they can get. Because again, the last thing you want is no season, because it doesn't help anybody, especially the players. The players are in a much worse position if there's no season. And it is the majority of the players. It's not even the middleman, because the middleman can still play in Unrivaled. It is those young players. Like, let's be completely real. Everyone talks about the equity of Unrivaled and everything. Every player that comes in gets some equity. What does that do? If it turns out that the players have the same equity percentage, but instead of the 30 players, they probably have X amount of shares, and they just keep creating more shares. Like, what's going to happen then is they're just going to end up, and if they're giving every new player equity, or most new players equity, like, what's going to happen then? Like, is there going to be, if there's growth, is there going to be shares going to be so diluted that some are a fraction of a percent, which some of them are. Some of them are. Like, some players on rival shares, like I wouldn't be surprised if a Fee and a Stewie, when people are talking about the players' percentage, if a Fee and a Stewie's equity percentage is more than 30 players combined. And probably rightfully so. They found the league. But yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully we hear something good at some stage. I'll see you guys.